Here's the thing, Monessen. Until we put political party affiliation aside and focus on the ties that bind us, we're doomed. More so until we rid ourselves of the albatross that's been around our necks since the late 1990s, Monessen has nowhere to go but down. Don't believe me? Ask yourself if Monessen has progressed or regressed over the past 22 years. Before you answer, consider how many blighted properties we've amassed in that time period. Consider how many buildings downtown have either been demolished because they were on the verge of collapsing or because they already had. Since 1998, our population has decreased, as has the quality of leadership at City Hall. Because, like so many other small towns across southwestern Pennsylvania and the state, local government runs primarily on the 3-2 principle, which basically states that if you have the majority on council, anything goes, including violations of the Sunshine Act, evidently. Ever since I moved back to the area, Monessen has been defined by the 3-2 principle. Way back in those late 90s, shortly after Mayor Jim was dealt a dirty blow, the darkness settled into power, taking over city government and just about every board, committee, group, and organization that Monessen had to overtake. They cackled at council meetings, goading on their supreme leader, whose malignant narcissism is almost singularly responsible for our city's sad demise. City administrators were fired without cause whenever the move suited the mayor's whim. Even when honest guys like John DeLuca were overwhelmingly elected to the mayor's post, the darkness chose childish, cowardly tactics and hid in the shadows when the rubber actually hit the road. It's much easier to rule with fear as your principal motivator than actually admitting that some of us may know more than you, and we all have infinitely more integrity. Ever since 2009, the insanity has reached perplexing new heights as we've basically lost the redevelopment authority. What have you done for me lately? Watched much of downtown get razed and have been given no insight as to what the plan actually is. Plenty of arguing during the public comments section of city council meetings, but where has any of that gotten us? Spoiler alert, nowhere. And what do we have to anticipate? Next spring's election, which includes all of the nonsense and shenanigans leading up to it. Then, if our candidate happens to win, we still have to wait until January 2022 for that person to take office. Even then, if we don't own the 3-2 advantage, what good will it be then? So what is the solution? Better still, what's the plan? For starters, we need to admit that we are in financial distress to the point where the health, safety, and welfare of our citizens is not only at risk, we're at least a decade past needing help. We need to have the Municipalities Financial Recovery Act, Act of 1987, PL 246, number 47, administered. We need the state's help, and we need Act 47. Don't think so? Consider that the main priority of our current mayor is to continue to chase his personal passion project, 500 Donner, at our expense. We, the taxpayers, are going to be expected to foot part of the bill in order to ensure that Matt Sherraw gets his grant. Remember that time we got stuck with the bill for $250,000 worth of renovations to the Monessen City Park Amphitheater, an investment that has generated $0 in revenue for a cash-strapped town, but allegedly serves as a storage area for cookies? Remember when the Monessen City School District spent $500,000 that they definitely didn't have to renovate Memorial Stadium because the district was under the impression that our state rep at the time was going to get a matching grant? Spoiler alert, no matching grant ever appeared, and attendance at the stadium has dwindled to disappointing levels. Drive through Monessen at any time of the day or night, any time of year, and look for the progress. More than 400 blighted properties. A continued diminishing tax base. 2 years of absenteeism on behalf of 2 men who were supposed to be leaders. 22 years of incompetence and selfishness that has gotten the city of Monessen absolutely nowhere. Don't think so? Prove me wrong. So, Pags, you sure do have all the right words, but what are you planning to do? How are you going to turn things around and get Motown back on track? It's easy to sit at a keyboard and spout off on social media, Mr. Paglia, but what are you prepared to do? I'm not planning to do shit. We are. We are a community of educators, healthcare professionals, and law enforcement personnel. We have the ability to care for one another in ways that weren't even possible 22 years ago, thanks to modern technology and social media. We can build our entire town back up if we learn how to build up each other. In no way am I saying that we should turn our backs on city government or disrespect those who continue to actually serve the city and us. But people like Lois and Tony need our help. They deserve our help because they cannot continue to fight the power alone. But we can't do it as separate entities. We cannot remain divided as members of one church or one ethnicity or even one race. We have to unite in order to conquer. Recognize that we're all looking for essentially the same thing, to live and work in a community that offers hope, not just for right now, but for future generations who need us to be better than we currently are. We all want to feel safe, and we'd all like to see a thriving downtown area, just like the one that we remember from the cultural heritage days of the 1970s. We can't go back. Steel isn't coming back. Hugo Parenti is a distant memory, a hearkening to a day when leadership took center stage and the rantings of a silent group of ne'er-do-wells was simply not tolerated. While I'm quite sure that the Monessen of Parenti's day was far from perfect, I'd like to think it was light years ahead of what we have in City Hall today. Anyone who sees Matt Sharaw as anything other than a disgraceful, lying coward shouldn't have a voice about where this city goes in the future. Do you really want to continue to look for leadership from a child who can't do anything without his puppet masters giving him the okay? If you want a new direction, one that's powered by community action, one that gives a voice to those unable or unwilling to speak up, one that offers hope. If you want to change the course of our city's future without the dark influence of the past, you want one Monessen.